Welcome to Your Radiant Spirit, a space for the conversations and colors that help you see yourself more clearly. I'm Heather Eck, an intuitive artist and guide, and I believe your soul speaks in the ways the mind can't always put into words, through color, energy, and the stories your body holds. This show is where we explore those messages. Through personal stories, deep conversations, and creative insight, we'll uncover what's been hidden, release what no longer serves, and begin to imagine what's possible when you live in full alignment with who you're meant to be. What you hear here is more than inspiration, it's an opening, a chance to feel the shift that could change everything. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's step into today's conversation. Welcome back to Your Radiant Spirit. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Today's guest is going to change the way you think about your own intuition. Jennifer Urezzio is the founder of Soul Language, a channeled framework that gives real, tangible words to your soul. Before all of this, Jennifer was a VP of Media Relations who kept getting in trouble for one thing: telling the truth. Then, on a massage table covered in red clay, she asked a big question, and the answer she heard became her life's work. In this conversation, we go deep. Actually, Jennifer shares how she channeled soul language back in 2008, why almost everything, even in your business, has a soul and an energy you can actually talk to, and how tuning in can dissolve the lies and limiting beliefs you've been carrying for years. Jennifer is warm, she's funny, and she does not do BS. I hope that you love this conversation, but before we dive in, if any of these conversations speak to you, please let me know. I'd love to hear what you think of the show, anybody that you want to hear, or topics you want me to cover, and I'd love to share my own artwork with you too. You can grab my free collector's guide over at heathereck.com. It's an invitation to slow down, take a look again, and notice the beauty and grace hiding in our ordinary lives. So let's step into the language of your soul. Here's Jennifer Urezzio. Jennifer, thank you so much for being with me here today. I'm so happy I get to turn the mic and interview you.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited.
Me too. I love your business, Soul Language. I'm very curious. What did you do before this? What was life like before you?
I was in marketing and PR.
Okay.
I was VP of Media Relations, and I was really good at my job. I was allowed to talk to the media because I would tell them the truth, and they loved me. I wasn't allowed to talk to clients because I would tell them the truth. And I have warrior nature, and I was a little more hardcore warrior. And people who were out of integrity, and that happens a lot in corporate America, would
Hmm.
see me as aggressive, even if I was just asking for a pen. And I had this client who hated me. And my best friend and boss at the time forced me to go to dinner with them. I was like, they hate me. They hated me because I would like tell them the truth.
Hmm.
And they were relationship coaches, and they were really bad at relationships. And he would scream at me on the phone, "You make me feel like a child." This was like a 60-year-old man. And I was like, I don't know anything about anything, but I know I can't make you feel anything.
Hmm.
And so I was forced to go. And they brought a friend along, Beth Davis. And at the time, she was doing this thing called hand analysis. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I know I need to have it. She came over and she's like, "You're a powerful healer." I've rephrased it over time, but your life purpose is powerful healer and teacher of service in the spotlight. And I went, totally. What do I do with that? And I started pursuing, what do I do with that? And she's like, "Hey, come over. And I'm doing this event, and come and speak about essential oils and life purpose." There's going to be a bunch of speakers. There was just me and her. And at the same time, I was like, I got to go freelance. Like, I, I can't keep doing this. Like, this is not working for me. And so I went to the conference and I spoke, and I got off the platform, and everyone was lined up to talk to me. Like, "Can you tell me your guides and teachers?" So I was like, uh-huh. They're like, "Can you tell me this?" I was like, and I made so much money. I paid for the conference and I took clients home. And that was also the beginning of understanding the framework or the download of soul language.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got here.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have a lot of questions. What were you like as a kid? Because I always think that what we're like as a kid is a strong indication of what we're like, what we our gifts are and what we can do here in this life too.
So I would play for hours alone in my room. I remember as a teenager, my father walking in. My parents were divorced, and my father walking in, and I went, "Great grandmother's dead." He's like, "Did your mother tell you?" And I was like, "No." Like it was just there.
Hmm.
I would know and say things, and they would be like, "How do you know that?" I was like, "I don't know how I know that." I just knew things. And as a
Yeah.
kid, I would talk to my hands, which I was probably not talking to my hands. I was talking to, something. And I was highly creative, highly intuitive. Um, you know, I- in college, I had this boyfriend and we would go to parties. I was like, "Oh, those two are sleeping together." And this is how, he's like, "How do you know all that?" I was like, I don't know. I just know. So I think I was, my grandmother, my father's mother, was highly intuitive. And I remember, as a youngster listening to some of her stories, like offhandedly, like, "Oh, I knew your mom was like giving birth, like, and before they told me, like some of those things."
Hmm.
Um, I wasn't, I wasn't a girly girl. Like I didn't play with dolls. I never had a Barbie until I was 30 because I remarked to my best friend, I've never had a Barbie. And she's like, "That Christmas, I got a Barbie."
Oh.
Um, a wedding Barbie that A didn't have any underpants on, which I was like, um,
Shocked by.
shocked. But I did
Shock
have an
and awe.
easy right. I did have an easy bake oven, right? So I I was the kid that would sit down and write the newsletter for the block, like on the
Uh-huh.
typewriter. Um, yeah. So that's kind of some of my kid like
Wow.
things. Yeah.
So when did the soul language come in? Because you say that you've channeled this.
2008. Yeah,
Okay.
at that conference, I was asking really big questions like, why do I like this person and not that person? How do I attract more of my community? And I was um, on a massage table covered in red clay. And I was like, why do I like that person today and not that other person? I don't care if I ever see that person again. And what I heard was, "Oh, that's soul language." And I was like, to the woman who was covering me in mud, "Please get me a pen." And she's like, "What?" I was like, "Get me a pen." And I just started asking questions. And before long, I had this framework that puts tangibility to soul and 107 core energies of soul, excuse me, across 3 different categories. And I started identifying people. And they would all say the same. "Oh my God, are you in my head? Oh my God, you put words to what I deep down inside." And I was kind of off and running.
Wow. So when you meet somebody, do you instantly get a download into their soul language, or how does this work
Absolutely,
for you?
totally not.
Okay.
It's it's inappropriate. So
Okay.
we identify a person's soul languages through therapeutic kinesiology or muscle testing. So
Oh,
my body becomes the pendulum on their soul's behalf, and it requires permission. So I
uh-huh.
don't do anything without permission. I had a mentor, in quotes, everyone, that she would. It was at the beginning, like understanding how I got my intuition, which is your soul speaking to you. I would go to classes and she would go out to dinner and lean across to the next table and go, "My guides and teachers told me to tell you this." And I'm like, and again, I didn't know anything about anything, but I'm like, that feels so icky. Like, what are you doing?
Uh-huh.
We parted ways really horribly. Uh, yeah, she asked a question during class. She's like, "What do we all have in common?" And I went, "We all have lack in common." And she went off on me. And I was like, "Oh, so I'm right." Um, you know, so that's how we determine a person's soul language. I mean, talking to people, there's what I call Pepe Le Pew stuff that just leaks off of them, right? And that will come up. Or sometimes I'll say something, not even conscious of what I'm saying. It just like comes out. And
Yeah.
here's a great example of that. I was on the phone with my mother several years ago, and I'm like, "So, mom, what's going on? Are you getting an MRI or anything?" And I went, "What the hell happened?" Excuse me. And my mother's like, "How do you know that? Did your aunts tell you?" And I was like, "No." "Wait, are you getting an MRI?" Like, some things just come out without
Uh-huh.
even me understanding or acknowledging it. It literally like feels like it's being just I'm not saying it, someone else is saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're channeling it. But tell me, because you mentioned muscle testing, and so my brain instantly went to emotion code, body code. How is your framework different than that, or is there some overlap in there?
So there's no overlap.
Okay.
So when we identify a person's soul languages, we use muscle testing for their soul to tell us their languages, right? So
Oh, I
it's not
see.
a test, it's not an answer, it's not based on your birthday. Your soul is literally moving this body down a testing sheet. And I train other practitioners in the work, so there's about 30 of them at the moment.
Cool.
Um, and so we just go through the 3 different categories: your mission, how you fuel that mission, and then your soulful personality. It's not an archetype framework either. Soul languages evolve, they grow. So for example, there was a soul language called hero. And a couple of years ago, a new practitioner came on. She's like, shouldn't there be heroine and hero? And I went, yeah, it's evolved. So the definitions evolve, the energy evolves. There's a soul language called negotiator, and for a good number of years, they were mostly unconscious. And then that energy started to evolve, and we got more negotiator people showing up consciously than unconsciously.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
So and so what as practitioners we'll identify we do identify them in waves, right? So several years ago, there were a whole bunch of mentors being identified. And by the fifth one, I said, listen, you're going to want to take a sabbatical. And they're like, oh my God, how do you know that? I'm like, because I've talked to 4 of you now. And you all want this. Like, it literally is an energetic wave.
Uh-huh.
And so when we talk to people, we really, as practitioners, we have to determine if what they're feeling is theirs, is
Hmm.
what they're feeling based on the energy of their soul that is connected to other energy, or is it mass consciousness?
Uh-huh.
And so it becomes this kind of energetic puzzle of what you're holding on or what you're expressing and why, and then utilizing your soul to move past the human limiting beliefs to utilize that energy more in power.
And more in alignment, it
Yeah.
sounds like too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we identify business souls as well, the business energy, and that's pure consciousness. That doesn't have anyone's pain and programming. And so then it becomes what of your personal energy are you adding into that business energy? And how
Uh-huh.
is that business energy reacting to it?
That is so funny that you say that because I just right before our recording was listening to a guy who was talking about your personal identity and how it shows up in your business based on patterns and things that you have brought in that you may not even be consciously aware of or showing up. So that's so interesting. And of course, now I'm thinking, okay, well, what are my patterns?
Well, and it's patterns, beliefs, energetic experiences, right? So, here's a perfect example. My business energy at one point, I would have said, is direct conflict with my personal energy. That is no longer true because
Okay.
I've evolved, right? But my business energy is much more still in nature, where my personal energy is much more warrior in nature.
Hmm.
So, about 10 years ago, I was talking to my business energy in the shower. And I'm like, where are my clients? At? Blah, 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 blah. And the business went, go to the beach. And I was like, no, I got emails to do and blah, blah, blah. And the business went, go to the beach. And I was like, fine. And I went to the beach and I came home and there was 3 new clients in my inbox because I kept putting fighting energy into the business. It couldn't expand. So when I want to create a new thing or I'm working on my business, I go to the business energy and go, hey, what should I do? What should I create? And the business will give me information. It's never going to say anything I don't resonate with. It will say things I'm in resistance of. And then it's the personal energy that you have to realign, reshift in order to put the goodness into the business.
Okay, awesome. So I have questions about that then. So you mentioned business energy. So do we have multiple energies that sort of sit around us or in our orbit that we can tap into? And can you tell us more about that?
I love that question. It's a very smart question. So in soul language, we can identify anything that has a soul, and almost everything has a soul, right?
Mhm.
But we don't recommend to identify everything in your world because that gets crazy, right? So, so we say personal energy, business energy, energy with divinity, like your relationship with whatever you call your higher power,
Mhm.
has an energy. And then Jennifer Rugg Bloom does the energy that comes between you and money.
Aha. Okay.
It's fascinating. I don't do any of that work. It's an offshoot
Mhm.
of soul language. So, for example, 9 out of 10 times, people don't have any languages in common or energy in common with their personal soul and their business soul.
Okay.
You call on a business to do something bigger first for yourself and then for others, and that usually takes different energy. When you have energy in common with your personal soul and your business soul, that is a lot of energy to hold consciously, right?
Yeah.
And that becomes kind of like a little crazy rat's nest of possibly goodness, but possibly not. So, for example, my personal languages are my mission is called Equalizer. It's all about creating that perfect formula balance, first for myself and then for others. How I'll be known is called Teacher of Integrity. I can see where people are out of the consciousness of love. I offer them the chance to get back in, which means back into balance.
Mhm.
Unstoppable freight train of goodness when you're in your perfect formula, right? Hence, remember the story I told you about those two coaches? That teacher of integrity was really rubbing them the wrong way.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then my soulful personality is called graceful warrior, action, movement, courage, and grace. So when we identify a person's three soul languages, I always give them a one liner. And that becomes their mild marker of consciousness. If they're not being and doing that, they're going to create struggle. So, my mild marker is I create balance for myself and others through love, integrity, and courage. If I'm not being and doing that, I'm going to be miserable.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
And so it becomes this kind of game of how are you utilizing your energy and what are you putting into your business energy?
Mhm. Interesting. I love that. I love the okay, at the beginning of our conversation you talked about people didn't like you because you told the truth.
Yeah.
And all throughout your bio are these let's drop the BS incinerator. Um tell me about that. Like how does soul language identify the pockets of BS and then help people uh get rid of that?
Um, I think when you have tangibility for words, for what you know deep down inside, it allows you to sidestep all of those lies, experiences, lacks that you've been telling yourself. Okay.
Mhm.
So that's on a personal level for people. It also allows you to step into your power because you're not trying to create your life based on experience, pain, suffering, or whatever other people told you how to do it.
Uh-huh.
I think why I'm like liquid nitrogen is because in my head, I can see the energy blocks of where people are. And
Mhm.
then I offer them the chance to get back in to
Okay. Yep.
alignment. Um, it's why it becomes so expansive is because unlike other kind of I'm going to use the word paradigms here, um, I'm really clear that I don't want to generate any codependence. Things like um, ooh, human design,
Mhm.
right? People will all go, "Well, I'm a generator." And it's almost like that's the end all to be all. They've
Right.
hung their hat and there's no expansion. It becomes they lose their choice of free will. With soul language, you actually have to listen to your soul and make the choice with your human to be in alignment
Mhm.
rather than trying to do it by autopilot. So there's a lot of more questioning and more expansion and more evolution versus some of the other kind of paradigms where there's not an evolutionary actual process built into the paradigm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like we update granted, I should be updating the languages more frequently, but I don't have that much time, right? Like, but they update, right? They evolve.
Yeah.
Definitions change. Um, it's not an archetype where it's one size fits all. So
Yeah.
even if you and I had the same soul language based on your experiences, you will say a lot of the same things,
Mm-hmm.
but you're coated in grape and I'm coated in, raspberry kind of.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense to me. You mentioned before that you see your clients moving in waves or groups. What are you seeing right now, especially given, what the state of our world and what's happening around us? I'm sure you're
Yeah.
seeing some trends happening here.
That's really an interesting question. So normally when I do a discovery session where I identify one soul language as a gift, what always comes up for that language is that second category, which is called axiom translation, how you'll be known here, the fuel of your mission.
Mm,
Lately, that has not been the case. The third category, tone, which is that soulful personality, how the soul prefers to go through life, have been showing up. And what that tells me is that people are tired of utilizing their ego unsustainable because that's where ego spends its most time. Um, and I think it's a very interesting trend, right? Like that is also telling me that I, I'm not really mass oriented, right? Like I'm a healer of healers, right? But the tone showing up, that tells me that more mass wants to be conscious, right? They're
mhm.
wanting to play a new game. And that is interesting because even if a client comes and it's a healer of healers and we do a discovery session around their tone and they have a shift, they can put that shift into the energy of that, we call it a line. So, for example, say you show up for a discovery session and you're an enchantress, okay? Which is all about utilizing words top line to help people determine if they're a hero or a swine, right? Like really using that magic to enchant. Say you shift something. Well, you can put that into the energy fields of every enchanter, and they can decide to pick it up or leave it.
Mm.
So, with the tone showing up more, that's saying the mass, whether I ever meet them or not, can easily be transformed through this new kind of paradigm, so to speak. Very
So
metaphysical.
I was going to say, very metaphysical. It sounds very quantum
It
focused too.
is.
Yeah. So do you think that so let's say there's something that I shift that I can put out into the field of whatever, I don't know what my soul language would be, but um that other people can pick it up, they can decide to use it or to not, that we have the ability to go in and shift things at a quantum level to make our experience here more pleasurable or
Yeah,
easier for us here.
totally. Like, it literally is. If you want to think of the mass as that ocean, and if we take out your drop of ocean and you transform it and you put it back into the ocean, it has already changed the ocean, right?
Mhm.
And then that all the little drops can decide, hey, I want to change that too. Or they could be like, no, I want to be rigid, right? But
Mhm.
just by you transforming that, it's already changed the ocean in some way.
Oh, got it. Okay. Awesome. And so you mentioned you work with healers. You're a healer of healers. So the people who come to you, are they in spiritual businesses most of the time, or are they in a variety of spaces?
So it's the energy of a person. So
Oh.
they're highly intuitive, highly creative. They're a healer. They might not be telling people that they're a healer, right? Um, They have a very big mission. They want to make an impact. They
Mhm.
know that they're hitting that spiritual glass ceiling, or they know that there's more and they're working their practices, but they just can't get there. They want a bigger connection, a bigger sense of being connected, a bigger access to their power. They
Mhm.
want to be seen. They have spotlight in their soul, and yet they're like, I don't want to be one of those people, right? So they're hitting that next level. They tend to they tend to be entrepreneurs. I do have a bunch of clients that are in kind of straight jobs,
Mhm.
but they're highly creative, or, they're artists or they're writers, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those are my peeps. I call them spiritual renegades. They're not going to do it like anyone else does it.
Yeah. I love that. Well, you just described me. I think I'm
Oh,
your ideal client.
I love that.
I'm gonna have to do a discovery session with you.
I would love
Um,
that.
I would too. Thank you. So for people who are listening, how can they work with you? How can they get in touch with you and learn more?
So I think the best way, there's two ways. There's my website, soullanguage.us. I have a Facebook group called Spiritual Renegades, where you're getting a lot of groovy stuff. I would recommend people sign up for a discovery session or my newsletter. I have a fabulous free Friday newsletter, um, which is like, if you've opened one of my newsletters, you'll get a fabulous free Friday. It's like a special section. And I pick up my own phone. Please don't call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I answer my own emails, so that's the best way. And, I don't mind lurkers or stalkers, like in the best way, not in the
In
bad
the
way,
best
but
way, yeah.
right. Um, get to know me, see if you resonate with me. I have a couple of group programs, but I love to look at someone and go, here's what you need.
Mm,
Because I think that's where a huge ship goes. I have a regular group program called Soul Fire Circle, where you get some one-on-one time and then you get group classes, master classes. And then you get master classes until I stop teaching that program. So the people that took the first one in September are still getting master classes, every new master class they get. And I
awesome.
love that. Um, because I never teach the same master class twice, which is fascinating. And so there's a bunch of ways. Oh, and I have a podcast
And you have a
called
podcast, yeah.
Ask and Answered by Soul. So you can reach me there too.
Awesome. And so for folks who are listening today, you mentioned you were in the shower talking to your business energy. Can you leave us with just a little tip if you're listening and you're like, how do I just start to listen to my soul? What's one thing you can share?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is just to tune into your heart and go, what do I need to know today? Make
Mhm.
some notes, jot some down. At the end of the day, go back and go, oh, my soul said, take an umbrella. And I thought that was crazy. So I didn't do it. And then it rained, right? Like, just so you understand how your soul is speaking to you through your intuition, because most of us don't understand our database.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so true. I think that is so true. And I think it's one of the things that, even in the work that I do with creative workshops, it's teaching you how to learn to listen
Yeah.
to yourself through art and through color because it's all there. We
All
just
there.
forget how to access it.
Oh, beautiful. And we just published a book, me and Maureen Frank, on soul mandalas. So there's a mandala to color in, and then there's some reflective questions as you work with that portal. And I
Awesome.
love that book. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I'll put all this stuff in the show notes. And thank you so much for being with me today. I've loved
Thank
hearing
you.
all about this, and I can't wait to do my discovery session with you.
I would love it. Thank you so much for providing such a fun space.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me today on Your Radiant Spirit. Every conversation here is an invitation to go beyond the surface, to listen to what your soul has been whispering, and to step into the life you've been longing for. If you're ready to go deeper, to work in a way that's personal, creative, and profoundly transformative, you'll find ways to connect with me in the show notes. Whether it's through art, a guided session, or a fully immersive journey, you'll discover a space where your truth is seen and your next chapter begins. If this episode spoke to you, it would mean the world if you shared it with a friend, left a review, or subscribed so more people can discover the conversations we have here. Until next time, my friend, keep noticing the colors, the moments, and the nudges. They're all leading you home. And for now, take a breath, hold on to what resonated, and carry it with you into the rest of your day. Thanks for listening.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.